The SSR ticket is finally here! Masters who have cleared the Orléans Singularity can choose between 25 unlimited SSR servants, with the option to keep them permanently, provided the servant passes the first ascension and is at bond level 5 or higher by the 15th of June 2022. There are many phenomenal candidates available, potentially game-changing servants, but when it comes to who to choose, pick with your heart. FGO is best when using the servants you love. But for those wanting a more meta approach, here are 5 more fantastic options available with the 2022 SSR ticket. If there is a servant you feel is missing from the list, check out part 1 in the description below, where we looked at the first 5 servants that make wonderful SSR ticket candidates. On to the show! Jack is scary, but more importantly, Jack the Ripper is a multi-talented assassin that can serve as an asset for older and especially newer masters alike. She is a solid boss killer through her noble phantasm, the spine-chilling Maria the Ripper, a quick single-target NP that ignores defense, and the strength of which Jack can boost through a significant 1-turn 50% quick buff on her first skill, Merger on a Misty Night. However, where she really shines is when slicing and dicing female opponents, against whom Jack receives a 1-turn damage boost that scales with Overcharge, allowing for an NP-led turn of horrific anti-female damage. Better still, Jack can soften her target via her second skill, Information Erasure rank B, which removes one enemy's buffs. However, just as famed as Jack's anti-female damage is her status as Fate Grand Order's premier star generator. Boasting a triple quick deck, A+ ranked presence concealment, and an absurd 5 hits per quick card with already impressive per hit star generation, she cuts up foes until they squeeze out copious amounts of stars. This makes Jack an invaluable star generator, particularly for newer masters who likely lack means of consistent passive star generation. But even then, this still does remain useful later in the game as well. As for survivability, Jack does have a 1-turn evade, however, it is tied to her soul quick buff, meaning masters may often have to prioritize damage or survival. She also does have the ability to reduce the critical rate of one enemy via Information Erasure. Jack is admittedly overshadowed by superior servants available from this ticket, and does have her flaws, not least the fact that the surgery skill is one of the blandest, most underwhelming skills in the entire game. But nevertheless, she is a fantastic combination of boss killer and especially star generator that surely has the role to play for both newer and older masters alike. While not as flashy as some of the other names on this list, Xuanzang Sanzang is a terrific single-target boss killer in a caster class quite frankly bereft of such talent. She destroys assassin and berserker bosses through her Buster Noble Phantasm, 5 elements mounting Buddha Palm, a glorious attack that also reduces the critical rate of its target should they somehow survive her furious divine blows. Better still, this NP is easy to activate due to Sanzang's first skill, Rapid Sutra Chanting rank A, an 80% battery that also improves the NP's strength for 1 turn. This allows her to fire it off immediately without the need for a high battery craft essence. Alternatively, a Sanzang who has just used her Noble Phantasm can then use the skill to practically refill her gauge, setting up for a second. To that effect, she also has a solid NP gain buff from her third skill, Sanzang's Teachings rank A. This increases her NP gain by up to 30% for 3 turns, useful when combined with her triple arts deck for wonderful NP gain, even allowing her to reclaim battery straight after using her NP. However, as befitting such a teacher, Sanzang boasts a tremendous amount of party support utility despite her boss-killing niche. The aforementioned Sanzang's teachings is a party-wide skill, increasing the NP gain of her teammates as well. Better still, it also increases the party star generation for 3 turns and grants them 1 turn of debuff immunity. On top of all this, Sanzang protects her disciples through her second skill, Captivating Rosy Cheeks rank A, a 1-turn taunt that also comes with a damage cut. This allows her to grant respite for her teammates and even redirect an enemy noble phantasm. Sanzang is a highly capable boss killer who overcomes the notorious caster class modifier to take down her master's foes. She even provides the party very solid support, with the taunt, NP gain and debuff immunity standing out in particular. Again, she is not as great a general meta pick as the likes of Ozymandias or fellow casters Waver and Tamamo no Mai. But in a niche devoid of serious talent, Sanzang stands out as a true divine star. A saviour of humanity in a world full of gods, Enkidu is one of the finest servants in all of Fate's Grand Order. On the surface, they appear a phenomenal boss killer through their single-target noble phantasm, Enuma Elish, a powerful buster NP that particularly excels in major battles against those deemed to be a threat to humanity. In addition to the NP reducing the target's defense by a minimum of 30% for 3 turns, prior to doing damage, Enkidu can buff their own strength for 1 turn through Transformation rank A, significantly increasing their buster effectiveness for 1 turn in addition to their quick or arts cards chosen at random. However, while they make for a solid generalist boss killer, Enkidu truly excels in solo situations, bringing a healthy combination of self-sustaining damage and offensive tools alongside almost unparalleled survivability. On the offensive front, Enkidu generates a great number of stars through their triple quick deck, which is then converted to facilitate a mixture of powerful critical attacks and solid NP gain, giving Enkidu tremendous access to the aforementioned noble phantasm. Whilst on the defensive front, Enkidu not only boasts a massive pool of health, but also has one of the game's best healing and debuff clear combinations, the Perfect Form rank A, albeit at a high cooldown. And just as importantly, once upgraded, their second skill, Presence Detection, not only provides 1 turn of evade on a low 5-turn cooldown, but also, and ideally as an anti-boss weapon, removes an evade currently on a single enemy, and then reduces that target's critical rate for 3 turns. Enkidu is even more effective in such situations when fighting divine opponents. Despite not gaining an attack buff, Enkidu's noble phantasm is all but guaranteed to stun a divine opponent, locking them into a perpetual debilitating state of misery, allowing Enkidu to launch assault after assault with only intermittent retaliations. In many ways, Enkidu can be seen as a more offensively focused Crew Hullen, sacrificing the guts and the admittedly superior evade skill for a far more complete offensive kit, combining star generation, NP gain, critical damage, and of course, a powerful noble phantasm, representing one of the greatest servants against humanity's greatest foes. A pair of phenomenal riders, one buster, one quick, and both legendary figures whose names will forever be amongst the stars. Francis Strait, the man who woman who brought down the sun. A marvelous farming rider, she obliterates waves of casters and berserkers with her buster area of effect noble phantasm, Golden Wild Hunt. She can boost its damage through the ever-effective Voyager of the Storm rank A+, which increases party-wide attack and NP damage by up to 17% each for 1 turn, thus also doubling as a support skill. After defeating her opponents, Drake claims her plunder, receiving between 20 and 40 critical stars for the following turn, dependent on overcharge. She can easily attain this NP through a massive 50% battery on her third skill, Pioneer of the Stars, rank EX, which additionally drops 10 stars and allows Strait to ignore invincibility for 3 turns as well, making no scoundrel safe from her almighty cannons. Further helping Drake claim battery is her second skill, Golden Rule rank B, which increases her NP gain by 45% for 3 turns. This allows her pair of arts cards to make solid NP gain despite her overall bust and niche, especially once combined with her aforementioned star generation. Due to Drake's high star weight on account of her rider class, she can attract these stars for either solid buster crits or arts crits to help her fill her NP gauge, either to prepare her noble phantasm to fire, or even to reload the cannons for a second. Ostensibly the weakest part of her current kit, this skill, which is already solid but basic, is buffed in the future, likely in 2023, to ransacking Golden Rule rank A. Taking absolutely no prisoners, the skill now additionally increases her buster effectiveness by up to 20% for 3 turns, and allows her to ignore defense for the same period. Ignoring defense and invincibility, now no one can hide from the King of Storms. There are some gripes to be had with her kit. Her quick card generates quite a few stars, but sadly she has only 1. And more notably, she lacks any form of defense whatsoever, sticking true to the powerful yet temporary heart of her libertine philosophy. This all leaves a highly competent farming rider, a star-plundering machine who is themselves able to exploit their newfound treasure, but whose heart still lies in the storm of her noble phantasm. The Unstoppable Achilles, invincible hero of the Iliad. A peerless legend who could only be brought down by... Achilles is a fantastic, quick farmer, capable of wiping out waves of enemies through his noble phantasm, Troius Tragoidia. Coming with a pre-damage 1-turn quick buff that scales with overcharge, he can further boost it via his first skill, Dromos Comatos rank A+, which increases his quick effectiveness by up to 30% for 3 turns. This same skill also gives birth to Achilles' second offensive niche, by increasing his critical damage by up to 30% for 3 turns as well. Ever the mighty warrior, Achilles is well primed to capitalize upon this niche. With a quick centric deck, he is capable of generating stars, whilst his rider class gives him a high star weight, allowing him to utilize these stars to execute upon his critical potential. And yet, Achilles is far more than just offense. He also provides a rare defensive boon to the party in the form of a 1-turn taunt via his third skill, Didracon Astalonka. I'm so sorry. This synchronizes with his second skill, Andreas Amarantos rank B, which grants him 2 hits of invincibility over 5 turns, and a 3-turn defensive buff, allowing Achilles to showcase his legendary invulnerability, even tanking powerful single-target noble phantasms for the good of the party without taking any actual damage himself. And this is where his defense comes to aid his offense. Not only can he gain battery whilst being targeted due his aforementioned taunt also comes with a 30% battery and a 1-turn NP gain buff, whilst the battery can help him fill his NP gauge. Using the NP gain in conjunction with his quick and arts critical hits can lead to staggering levels of NP gain. In the right circumstance and with the right supports, Achilles can even use this to loop his noble phantasm via these criticals and help from external or his own battery. Achilles is a truly impressive two-way servant, and whilst not necessarily the best servant available, he still makes for an impressive SSR ticket choice. Of all the servants to include on this list, by far the most difficult is the legendary Jeanne d'Arc. Jeanne is Fate Grand Order's answer to the concept of ultimate defense. Through her Art Noble Phantasm, Luminosité Éternelle, it provides one whole turn of invincibility to the entire party, in addition to a very small defensive boost and healing over 2 turns. Once ranked up, it becomes even better, removing the infamous self-stun, and it removes debuffs for the entire party. Jeanne does have little offense to speak of. In fact, her class advantage is largely just another tool that, paired with her own high health, helps sustain her own position. But Jeanne's worth really does come in her defense, and this is particularly evident when helping newer masters who may lack other solid defensive options, when acting as a bedrock for many soul team options, and of course during the most difficult of quests, protecting her allies from otherwise certain doom. Very few servants can match Jeanne's defensive capabilities. However, the problem for Jeanne is that she faces 3 significant issues. The first is that most of her useful tools are tied to her Noble Phantasm, and as great as it is, Jeanne's MP gain is only decent at best, making actually accessing it without support something of a hassle, and makes the timing of the NP of the essence. The second is that her skill set in its current condition ranks amongst the most mediocre of any 5-star. Whilst Revelation does drop stars over 3 turns, its value is equivalent to that of the Phantom of the Opera's Innocent Monster skill, and it has a higher cooldown at that. And this is probably her most universally applicable skill, with both True Name Revelation and Divine Judgment only affecting servants, thus being irrelevant for the vast majority of battles. Thankfully, True Name Revelation does eventually get a boost next year, now lowering the NP damage and defense of one opponent, regardless of whether they're a servant or not. A vast improvement, but still not quite enough to make Jeanne's skill set all that appetizing. The final and most pressing issue, however, is the upcoming arrival of Mysterious Caster A, a support list mainstay, who essentially replicates everything Jeanne does, but does it better, and with a superior general skill set to boot. Like Jeanne, MCA's NP clears debuffs and protects the party, albeit sacrificing the turn base protection for one that does so instead for a specified number of hits, and with a form of defense that is even stronger than invincibility. Better still, Mysterious Caster A has an inbuilt party-wide NP gain buff within her kit, helping to facilitate a steady flow of battery, and thus easier access to her NP. That said, Jeanne does still have one advantage, as the Mysterious Caster's kit lacks any form of healing. There are clearly serious issues with Jeanne, and yet she makes the list, even over servants comparable in quality such as Napoleon. Why? Well, her Noble Phantasm is simply that good, making her such an effective servant for Mule Masters, stall teams, and in highly difficult quests. The combination of invincibility, a debuff clear, and healing makes her such a defensive asset that it helps to mitigate the aforementioned issues and her lack of offense. Better still, the upgrade to her second skill also allows her to further aid her allies, applying up to a 50% defensive debuff onto one enemy, a skill that will be very suited to those difficult boss fights that Jeanne is a fixture in. Furthermore, while she is eclipsed by Mysterious Caster A, the pair can work well together, with Mysterious Caster A's NP gain buff and batteries helping Jeanne gain greater access to her own Noble Phantasm. Furthermore, unlike Jeanne, Mysterious Caster A is a limited servant, making it difficult to obtain her and thus making her unusable in quests where supports can't be used. Jeanne is certainly less of a priority now than she once was, but her phenomenal defensive tools and the difficulty in obtaining the other 5-star defensive support options like Merlin or Mysterious Caster A still gives Jeanne great value, and there are certainly worse picks available with the SSR ticket. At the end of the day, pick the servant that you love. Fate Grand Order is at its funnest when using the servants you like most. And also an important point. Just because an excellent servant is coming out, such as Mysterious Caster A, it does not make servants like Tamamo or Jeanne d'Arc obsolete. Far from it. I've been Dunes, thank you for watching, and whoever you pick, I wish you a joyous time with your new SSR.